Brown-skinned people are spread all over the world. We are also facing racial disparities, injustice, and unfair treatment all over the world. More often than not, we are in our various countries and communities, and we are dealing with so much right where we are that we sometimes don't even have an opportunity to look outside of our own environment to see what's going on with our brothers and sisters anywhere else. Well, we're changing that because we got to come together. Nobody else, and it has been proven, is going to come together for us, for the benefit of us. Today's video is coming right out of the UK. We're discussing the Race Today movement, a journal created to highlight the many racial disparities that Black people are facing in the UK. Race Today Journal was a significant publication in the 1970s and 1980s that fought against racial injustice in Britain. The Race Today Journal was created in the 1970s by Black activists in Britain to address issues in the Black community such as violence, inequality in the workplace, and systemic racism in housing. And I'm just learning today that there is even police brutality happening right in the UK. In October, Chris Kaba was unalived by police in the UK. This sparked outrage in UK, fueling protests and Black people demanding justice to be served. For me, I've been so caught up in America and the police brutality that was happening there, and it happened so often that I didn't even have an opportunity to look elsewhere to see if it was happening anywhere else. But it's interesting to see that no matter where we are always victimized. We are always the target. And my question is, why?
For Denai Thomas, it has been a challenging year.
Sorry.
In the first TV interview of these old friends, the wounds of their ordeal still feels brand new.
Yeah, you're going back through the trauma. Do you know what I mean? It's hard.
Yeah.
Last September, Denai, Davina and Selma's night of fun at the bingo ended in despair and dispute with a white female passenger on their train home. The incident happened on the Northern Line at King's Cross, where it escalated.
Before we know it, we were subjected to a very vile, racist, verbal abuse, which consisted of racial profanities, monkey chants being made at us, and subjected to being called slaves.
There was then a physical altercation. Selma's arm was bitten. In the melee that erupted, hair was grabbed.
I heard her scream, "She's biting me." And I couldn't even see her. There were so many people on the train and I couldn't see her. And I could just hear her screaming in pain. It was awful.
It then emerged an off-duty officer had been present the entire time. But the women say only intervened once things got physical. When the British Transport Police arrived, their abuser cried and appeared to win the sympathy of officers. In a heated exchange with police, Denai Thomas told a male officer that when white women are racist, they play the victim. And as the officer was white, she did not trust his intervention. The policeman suggested her remarks were racist against him. Denai was later charged for racially aggravated harassment against the officer, whilst her abuser was given a caution.
My attacker is now acting like the victim, you know what I mean, and crying. And I'm trying to explain that your privilege has no status here. You're the attacker here. And I'm explaining that to a member of the police, and then that gets turned round on me to attack me even further. That's deep.
The journal worked to push for representation of Black people in media and leadership positions. And it worked because it helped efforts later on to include Black people in such positions. In November 2024, Kemi Badenoch, and correct me if I'm wrong, I might have jacked up the name a little. She is the first Black woman in history to hold a position in a conservative party.
Thank you.
In news from the UK, Kemi Badenoch is the new leader of Britain's Conservative Party.
The result was Kemi Badenoch, 53,806 votes, and Robert Jenrick, 41,388.
The announcement was made today, Saturday, November 2, 2024. It comes after the party suffered a crushing election defeat in July. The 44-year-old Badenoch, whose parents were immigrants from Nigeria, becomes the first black woman to lead a major UK party.
However, it doesn't come easy in a world where white supremacy rules. Black people in the UK are still fighting an uphill battle, fighting for stronger policy, diversity in schools and workplaces. We, the black-skinned people, have found ourselves in the middle of racial tension since the beginning of when we can remember. It's never ending, and it seems like we are always the target no matter where we are. So that should tell us that there is something very special, very unique about us. And not only that, but we own the riches of the world. So of course we will always forever be the target because it is a known fact that we come from empires. They like to teach in schools that the beginning of our history was slavery, but this is not the case, as we all know. We were kings and queens, owning palaces, going about in the best of fabrics, and upholding our cultural standards and ways of living. We were very powerful before the Europeans came in, dismantled everything, turned our world upside down, and decided a way of living for our culture. We are spread out over the face of the earth, and it is time that we come together and be concerned about one another. I know that we have a lot going on in our various places, such as America, the UK, so forth and so on. But we have to make it our business to be about our own business as the brown-skinned people. And we need to come together and overcome the many systemic racist barriers that have been placed before us. And they like to paint this picture that we were against each other and that's how slavery was able to happen. But at the end of the day, everyone from time to time fights, right? It's like when you're growing up in your household with your cousins and your brothers and your sisters, you come from a big family maybe, or maybe not. But there are times when you fight amongst your family members, right? So what is the difference of being in our own country and fighting amongst each other? It sometimes happens, but the Europeans and others use that as an opportunity to see the division happening within us. They use that as a means to be able to infiltrate and create separation in the black culture. And it's sad, but it's still happening today in 2024. I see so many of us still very separated, with our own agendas in mind, only focused on how we can get ahead or how we can get over on our fellow brothers and sisters, instead of coming together for a greater good, because you have to, at some point, come to the realization that nobody don't mean us no good. And if we, our own selves, even mean each other harm, there's just no hope for us. And then I also have to come to the realization that it's not always necessarily about the Europeans, because they were only able to do what we have allowed them to do. We sometimes have been our worst enemies. It's time that we just stop thinking about self and we acquire a team mentality. When you look at other cultures, they stick together. Like people that come from Mexico, they hands down know how to come together, work together, and make it happen. I'm from New York, and growing up, we used to always see people from Mexico. They would get one small house. It would be about 10, 11, 12, 13 of them all in that one house. But guess what? It wasn't a matter of comfortability. They had a greater vision in mind, and that was to pull themselves out of poverty. And they knew that they couldn't do it alone, that they had to rely on each other in order to see a better future. It seems we're the only ones still sitting here thinking that we can rely on ourselves to pull ourselves out of the mud. And granted, we did that for many, many decades, but where has it gotten us? We have always been our strongest and at our greatest potential when we have come together, such as when Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and the likes were alive. It's time that we return to our own culture, our own ways of worship, and our own authentic way of living. We have been told time and time again how to think, what to wear, how to speak, what we should look like. When we think about it, we have had no voice in our lives. No wonder why so many of us are depressed and fighting to understand who we are. Well, it's time we make a change, and it's time we be about our very own business. What do you think the future of Black leadership in Britain looks like? Drop a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button, and please like and share this video. I'm Melody, you tuned in to Just Vlog, and I will see you on the next video.